who has become self-controlled. And this means undisturbed, not being disturbing to the world or disturbed by the world. Are you stronger and more capable than other people give you credit for? Maybe even sometimes stronger than you give yourself credit for? There can be ways to use the challenges that we've had in life to lead us to post-traumatic growth. Here's what I think about it. So many of us have gone through difficult experiences in life. It's part of living. Many of us have suffered. We've been through traumatic experiences. Maybe it's as simple as growing up under someone else's shadow. There could have been very real external things that have happened to us. But many people, especially in the West, have very broken hearts. It's a huge problem for them because they can't connect with people. They never really get over it. It's a huge statement, I know, but I'm not trying to minimize what's happened to people. But there are ways to learn the lessons from experience and to channel that into a better life. So let's talk about a few ways people get stuck and some ways we can move into the best version of ourselves. So first off, what is a better version of yourself? Because there's many ideas out there. Some are good, some are bad, but here's what works for me. Because we can learn through experience, we learn that life is better beyond limits than it is being limited by the past, right? So here's some ways that I strive to be. I try to be a person who hates no one and is friendly to all people and is merciful, free of ego, who's even-minded in pain and pleasure, and always satisfied, working towards the highest for everyone, who has become self-controlled. And this means undisturbed, not being disturbing to the world or disturbed by the world. And that's about being free from the ups and downs, joy even, anger, fear, anxiety, not depending on anything, just pure and active. And in that way, you're not as invested when the inevitable good or bad of life comes, and it doesn't make you as miserable. The same in praise and blame, with a silent, thoughtful mind, just feeling blessed with what comes your way. Taking those inevitable bad things as blessings in disguise. So that's a little bit about the vision of myself that I want to step into even more fully. So you're going to have your own vision. Maybe you can take some things from that, but this is about self-freedom, self-awareness, and self-growth. And you can do that within, and whatever better version of yourself is, you can always work towards that. But most people are not even aware that they're limited by their past experiences or that they can overcome them. So no matter what we experience in this life, we can still choose to be the greatest version of ourselves. No one is ever tainted or broken beyond reproach. You can overcome any obstacle in your way. You can improve any situation, and hope is never lost. Me personally, when I was a young boy, I was very depressed and overwhelmed with the world. It was too much. School seemed just like a prison, and all I saw in front of me was a life that was living someone else's social norms, and it just felt domesticated. So I resisted against that. But being young, you still have to do your responsibilities, which was doing things that I didn't want to do. And that left me broken inside. And I think that that's the story of most Westerners, is childhood to some degree breaks them inside. And many people never come back from that. So what I'm talking about here is taking those experiences and using them as fuel to make ourselves better, to learn from them, and establishing that no matter what has happened, we're never tainted, we're never broken, we're never beyond, there's always hope. We can always move forward. And it just happens. Relationships are complicated. Life is complicated. Most people live in this almost manic up and down lifestyle where they can fly off the handle at any moment, be angry and confused, right? So they're more in those limited states than I think sometimes we acknowledge. But first, there's nothing that can hold us down forever, right? That's the first thing. The second thing, if we want to rise above, we want to get out of habits of blaming other people and instead of accepting responsibilities. Now, I'm not saying that other people don't influence us. Obviously, we're in a network of people. Other people influence us for sure. But a lot of people scapegoat. They blame other people. They focus on other outside situations. And it's just fundamentally disempowering, because you can't change the government. You can't change the world. You can only change yourself. Now, through how effective you change yourself, you'll have more influence. You'll have more authority. You'll have more power in the world. You'll be more influential with other people. But it's fundamentally incorrect to try to change the world without first taking responsibility for yourself, because you'll be ineffective. You won't be able to rise to the challenge. Now, obviously we do both, but I'm talking specifically about blame. Many people don't even try because they just say things, well, the government this, or my parents that, or him or her, or fill in the blank. So they get in these really limited mental loops of blaming other people. Oh, the government's holding me back. My boss doubts my ability. My childhood or my level of education prevents me from doing what I want. This type of narrative. So I'm challenging that. And even if those things are true, even if those limits are present, which they could possibly be, it's a flawed approach, because what I see, it's not even that they're holding you back as much as the idea of them holding you back becomes this person who doesn't even rise to the challenge. So specifically, getting out of any routines of blaming other people, the more that we accept responsibility, the better the life is going to be. And then finally, realizing that even if we can't change something externally, we can change ourselves, our hearts and our minds. So some people have some very difficult situations, illnesses that can't be cured or managed. I mean, many of them can be dealt with to the level that they can, but it's more about putting in the effort to rise above what you can and not let things get to the point where they're unmanaged. Okay? So let's go back to illness. Many illnesses, if they're managed
Because for the
early
tattva
and
darshan, for the true knowledge,
intelligently, you can make
one need
significant progress on.
to be real.
Not everyone can
How
do
real
that.
we are in our life.
And sometimes we know we don't do the
We
things that we
start
need
our
to
day
do to get to the
better,
end of the line, to get there.
physically, mentally, socially.
And I'm not
We all
arguing
want to
if,
show us,
we
represent us what
can
we really
have some
want.
sort of miracle cure and overcome every illness. I'm saying that we have to do what we
True
can by
self.
accepting responsibility
We
and to
never
do what we
try
can
to
to
represent. We
manage
try
things intelligently. But no matter how much pain we experience, we can always find joy in our
be
heart.
simple. Then God
No
will give
matter
you.
what
You need to
limits we
rely to God
experience,
for
we
that.
can always be the
You need to be
wisest,
simple.
the most
God
alert,
is not
and
so
freest
simple.
person.
Relax.
It's almost cliche, but they
Difficult
say that
is
pain is
we
inevitable, but
make it
suffering is
difficult
not.
and practice. We
And
make the practice difficult.
that's
So
the
hard.
true work,
So effort.
making you into that type of person who can rise above it. That's what I meant
So journey of
by
light is effort.
friendly and merciful and even-minded
We have to be
and becoming
simple for
self-controlled
that,
and
easy.
undisturbed
And
and
we are not
undisturbing to the
easy
world.
anything. We are trained that if you want to achieve something
And it takes
in your
work
life,
and
you must be
discipline,
very struggle for. You must be very
because
hard
if you condition yourself to be angry, you'll be
to
angry.
achieve anything.
If you
Must be
condition
very
yourself to
hard.
be happy, you'll be
A
happy.
worker or
On some level, it's a
to
choice.
very
On
hard.
another level, it is work. On another level, it is knowledge
We make
that
our
leads you to
heart
that freedom.
we make our life completely.
But most people don't put in the self-effort. They don't question things enough to get to that self-knowledge that leads them to freedom. They don't surround themselves with good people. They don't work on being content. They just ride this roller coaster of whatever happens to them externally. They just ride that wave. And there has to be some sort of internal strength there. There has to be some sort of internal filter, even thought police to a certain degree. Not just riding the waves. Now, you often see this in great people at the end of their life when they've done what they needed to do. People whose bodies have been afflicted with stroke and disease and death, but they're above it all. We see this in the wise people, the people that we should look to for guidance. So that internal attitude, that cultivated happiness and wisdom, which anyone can do, right? It makes them float above the muddy waters. They neutralize the effects of negativity, even as it operates, even as that negative consequence of stroke or death or whatever that they've brought on, even as it operates, they've risen above it. And that's the potential for all of us. We can cultivate that inner peace. And knowing it's possible is the first step. Because this is not a message you hear in the mainstream media. We have to be honest with what we are and what we're not, and then actively work towards a better way. And then day by day, small actions lead us towards a more ideal future. And just one important point. The past has this certain momentum on us. Habits. We can wake up, we can feel that momentum. It can slow us down from growth. Those previous cycles. It can just be weird feelings, it can be routines, it could be anything. But anything you choose to do right now is infinitely more powerful than the momentum of the past. So even though what we've done in the past has created habit patterns, maybe positive, maybe negative, maybe mixed, and they have momentum behind it, anything you do now is infinitely more powerful. Thank you so much for supporting the community. I invite you to like, comment, subscribe, and share this with your family, with your friends. From my heart to yours, thank you.